Hello, hi, welcome back to So Into That. I am your host, Caroline Chambers, and I am excited to be doing another solo episode this week. I love doing these solo episodes because they can be a little shorter, and I know a lot of you love a short, efficient episode, and I totally understand that because I don't have to do any introduction. You guys already know who I am, so we can just get right down to brass tacks. This week, I thought I would do a Q&A, like a Ask Me Anything podcast episode. I do these occasionally on Instagram. All creators do, where we do a question box. You guys can submit any questions that you have for us. But I haven't done one in quite some time. And I thought that it would be fun to do like a podcast episode version because when I do them on Instagram, I only have like a minute to answer the question. I have to be kind of quick and efficient. So I thought it'd be fun to do it here where I can give a little bit more lengthy answers. So shall we get right into it? Let's do it. Oh, I like this one. How do you motivate yourself to work out with young kids? It's so hard. This one's from Christy Barnard. Yeah, it is so hard. Couldn't agree more. Having a Peloton, I've talked about this on the Peloton episode or on the Emma Lovewell episode. She's a Peloton instructor. Having a Peloton has totally changed my ability to work out with young children. That is a privileged answer because they are expensive. I will say you can find them for a steal on Facebook Marketplace. So check that out. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, like people buy these and then they're like, I don't want an exercise bike in my house. And they get rid of them really quickly. So you can find like the newer editions. So check that out if you've been wanting one. But having a Peloton at home has totally changed the game for me because I can sneak in a workout if the baby is home and I'm like doing a mom from home day. I can work out during his nap. I do have pretty full-time childcare right now, so that's not as big of an issue. But for instance, I'm recording this episode with wet hair because this morning I woke up early because I needed to knock out my workout before the day even started. So I woke up 7 a.m., worked out until 7:30. Our kids slept until 8. And so I knocked it out beforehand. And I did a 30-minute Peloton plus a 10-minute shoulders and arms class. Where do you get the motivation though is hard. It's really exhausting to be a mom. All your energy is sapped. So where do you get the motivation? I get it from knowing how good it makes me feel. Honestly, like my desire to work out has nothing to do with what my body looks like, how many calories I can eat, none of that. It is entirely how good it makes me feel. The endorphins, the positive energy that I get in my body from working out is what motivates me to do it. And I now have worked out consistently enough to know what I feel like when I don't work out. And so I know how positive those benefits are for me. So if you're having a hard time motivating, just start with a 10-minute class. If you don't have a Peloton, if you don't want to subscribe to one of the mini workout apps, go on YouTube and do a 10-minute workout almost every single time. Peloton has tons of 10-minute workouts. So anytime I'm feeling like I have no motivation, just like super low mo day, I will go and do a 10-minute class. And almost always I'll find myself, okay, now I can do another 10-minute one because those endorphins are flowing. Your body's like revved up at that point and wants to do more. So they have 10-minute bikes. Anyway, this is sounding like a Peloton ad, but getting out for a walk with the kids even is so great. If you have a baby, going on walks with the baby in the stroller and the carrier is like how I listen to a book while I do it. If you're a walker, if you enjoy walks, get into audiobooks and only let yourself listen to the audiobook while you're on your walk. It is the best motivation to get out there and walk. Or on your Peloton. I listen to books while I Peloton sometimes. Only letting yourself listen to your audiobook while you're on a walk or a run is the best motivation. Make sure it's a really good book, a juicy romance. Obviously, I would only listen to a romance. Really juicy book that you are like dying to finish. And you'll find yourself going on 2 walks a day sometimes because you set this these are rules for yourself. You're only allowed to listen while you're on the walk. It really helps. I hope that helped. Do you ever get mom guilt with your work schedule? This is from Jane. The answer is that I used to. I now have 5 years of practice defeating mom guilt. So the answer is that I used to every single day when George brings the boys to school. So when Mattis was 20 months old, I think he started going to school. And I would sob every single day that he left. Like, I'm doing something wrong. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. It felt like my hormones, I don't know, it just felt like my soul was being ripped out of my body every time he left me. And the first week was really hard. And then the second week was easier. And then the third week was even easier. And quickly you realize that they're learning so much and having such a fun, dynamic day that you couldn't have provided for them. It's funny when I say this, I feel like I have a ton of stay-at-home mom friends, and their kind of reasoning for being stay-at-home moms will be, I only get this time once. Like, I want to be with my kids when they're little. They need their mom when they're little. And if you're a working mom and you hear that, it kind of stings and you're like, yeah, must be nice. Like, I wish I could do that too. Not working is not an option in our family. Like, I need to work for us to be able to afford our life. So that's not an option for us. So I think whatever your circumstances are as a mom, you convince yourself that that is the best option. And also it is the best option because there's no bad option. Like, I just don't believe in feeling mom guilt over having to do what I have to do to keep our family afloat, So every now and then when I have like a work trip or something, when I had an LA podcast trip, I had a lot of mom guilt about that. And I was like, why do I feel this? And I realized that it was because this podcast is something kind of new that I'm doing. And it's like totally self-created. Like, it wasn't a brand flying me to LA for 2 days and paying me, whatever X amount, which I would have had a little bit less guilt about because it's like, oh, this is work, I'm getting paid. The podcast, I'm still not making money on this podcast. It's not profitable. I will have to add ads at some point soon. Sorry, but also I have to not be losing money on it. So I think going down to LA to like work on something new that I wasn't making money yet on, like an entrepreneurial thing that wasn't profitable yet, I had weird mom guilt about. And I was like, oh, this is backwards. Like, so many businesses that men work on like don't make money for the first many years and they don't feel guilty. So I don't know, not to play the man versus female game right now, but the overall answer is no. I try not to let myself go down the mom guilt hole anymore. I'm a seasoned pro at this point of being a working mom and having to get help with my kids. Yeah. In my episode with Cameron Rogers, we talk a little bit about mom guilt versus mom jealousy. I feel a lot of jealousy right this second. Our nanny Tanya has the boys at this really cute, it's called My Museum. It's downtown Monterey. They love it. Cash is obsessed with it. There's just like little different play stations. There's like a little fire station. There's a hospital station, and they can go in. It's like an interactive kids museum. And I'm really jealous that she gets to be there with them and not me today because I don't know. I want to be with them. Cash is at such a cute age. The big boys love playing with him. I wish I was there and I'm not. So I have mom jealousy. I don't have mom guilt. How do you keep your cool/sanity during toddler meltdowns? First of all, sometimes I don't, but I am able to keep my cool a lot. I'll say this is also comes with practice. Like, you become an expert in toddler meltdowns, and so they're not scary anymore. Everything is scary the first few times you have to do it. It's just like a new job. Being a mom is a job, and the first time that you have to do something new is stressful and it'll make you anxious, just like being in a workplace. First time you have to send that email to the CEO, like, it's scary. You check it 50 times. Like, same thing applies to motherhood. So the first time you deal with a meltdown, you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrifying. Is he okay? The second time you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. Is he okay? When the F is this going to stop? The third time you're like, oh my God, just stop. Like, what do I do to make you stop? And then the 50th time and the 5 billionth time, which is about what I'm on, you're like, they're going to be completely fine. They do not need me. They're in their own world. So I just kind of like reassure them, give them a little pat on the butt, reassure them that like I'm present. Hey, I'm here. I love you. Like, I'm ready whenever you are to talk about this. And I go do something else. And, I just reassure them like, hey, I'm here. I understand you're having a hard time, but I am able to like really tune it out by now. And that is definitely just like a skill that comes with the job after a lot of time. My neighbor was a counselor at Esalen, this really cool retreat where you can go and do lots of different retreat like focuses down in Big Sur. The last scene of Mad Men is filmed there. If you remember Don Draper, like standing outside, like at kind of a retreat, he's like lost his mind and you think he's leaving advertising forever. But then the Coca-Cola ad starts to play, the old one from the 60s that's like, give peace a chance or whatever. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'll put the link in the show notes because I can't remember exactly what it is. That's where Don Draper was. Anyway, it's like a place where people go and like they have marriage counseling sessions. They have like writers' retreats, all kinds of things. He was an instructor there for many years, and I run into him on the hill a lot when I'm up slapping the sign and he goes on bike rides. And he was an instructor and like, therapist for moms, yada yada. And his number one piece of advice when you're losing your cool as a mom, when the kids are stressing you out, basically anytime that you feel stressed is to just take a deep breath and like leave the room for a second if you need to, but take a deep breath. It literally changes which nervous system is firing. So we have two nervous systems. One is like the fight or flight one, and one is the like calm everyday one. I'm going to totally botch this. So if you're a doctor, don't come at me. But basically, we have two nervous systems. And when your heart starts to beat and the kids are having those meltdowns, your fight or flight nervous system takes effect because it like thinks you're being chased by a tiger. Like think, evolutionarily, thinks you're like being chased by a tiger, whatever, thinks something really bad is happening. And so taking that deep breath switches your nervous system. So switches like all of this fight or flight crap that your body is doing and making you feel so anxious and like scared. A deep breath changes your nervous system to that other one. Like it's a physical thing that not physical thing, but whatever. It's a thing that happens in your body and it helps so much. And it also just like the nervous system thing, B, just like taking a deep breath can like give you 1 second inside your own head to be like, this doesn't matter, like whatever. And also just knowing toddlers are going to have meltdowns and you can't stop them. Like you can't stop it. So just let it happen, step away, go do something else. Have you convinced George for baby number 4? This is from Arango Amanda. No, a hard no on that one. I will say when we were in San Diego last week, being with 3 kids on vacation, I was like, maybe this is enough kids. It's just, everything's a little difficult. My friend Lexi, who was with us, the other family that was with us, she has a 10-month-old right now who she's still breastfeeding. And remembering that first year of a baby's life when they're like napping constantly, being fed bottles constantly, they're just, even though they're easy because they don't like move that much, she was like gone. It feels like every 30 minutes, like either putting the baby down or getting the baby back up from nap, having to sit in the room while the baby napped, getting another breastfeeding the baby again. Like there's just a lot that goes into babies. And I was kind of like, you know what? I've never not been pregnant by this time in a baby's life. So Cash is 19 months old. By the time Mattis was 11 months old, I was pregnant with Callum. By the time Callum was 14 months old, I think, 15 months old maybe, I was pregnant with Cashel. And so I've never like had a baby this old and not been first trimester exhausted, just so burnt out, wound down. And I'm really getting to just fully enjoy Cashel and who he is without the true like exhaustion and like added layer of having to take care of myself, just being able to like focus on him. I mean, that's very against the year of me. Don't worry. I'm still really focusing on myself this year. But I'm enjoying, not having to take care of myself because I'm pregnant, just getting to take care of myself because I'm a girl, not without a baby inside of me. So yeah, no, haven't convinced George, and also I'm like waffling on it. So, which is a good thing because he's like hard pass. Don't get away from me. Step away from me. Don't even think about it. Are you forever Californians? This is from Alexa. This is a good question. I was talking to my friend Charlotte about this in Balboa Island last week because she is a born and raised Californian, and she was like, are you guys here forever? Like, what's the deal? I honestly can't see us moving back to North Carolina at this point. Our lives are very much here. Except for our families, like our immediate families, mom, dad, both of our mothers and fathers, and my sister and brother-in-law are in North Carolina, South Carolina. But that's kind of it. Like Georgia's sister is in Connecticut. My brother's in Georgia. My cousins are in Texas, Georgia, like all over the place. So North Carolina, and I have tons of friends who I would love to be closer to, but North Carolina, I don't know, doesn't feel like home anymore. We've been gone for 12 years. That's a long time. So North Carolina doesn't really feel like home anymore. So I can't see us moving back to North Carolina. I don't know if Carmel Valley is definitely our forever place. I will say now that Mattis is going into kindergarten in the fall, I just remember the kids who transferred into school when they were like in fifth grade and being like, they moved here from DC? Like, what? Like a new kid? And I don't know. The thought of Mattis being the new kid somewhere I don't love. Obviously, they'll be completely fine if that is what happens. I'm not worried about them being the new kid. Like, I have plenty of military friends who were the new kid every 2 years, but it's just not what I pictured. I pictured like Mattis, and all my kids. It's funny how we defer to talking about the oldest one. I imagined my kids, being born somewhere and raised somewhere, just like I was, and just like George was. It's just what we have, what we grew up with. So it's what we imagine for ourselves, for the kids. So I don't know. All that to say, I don't know. This is my entire thought process on all of it, and I don't know the final answer. I think only time will tell. Let's see what else we've got here. Well, this is helpful. You mentioned on this week's episode that you have a brother. I didn't know that. Okay, I do have a brother, and I don't get to see Will that often, which is probably why you didn't know. I always assume if one person didn't know, like hundreds of people didn't know. So if you didn't know I have a brother, I do. It's funny that I just mentioned that. Will is my younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. He's a 94 baby. And he lives outside of Atlanta in Alpharetta, Georgia, with an awesome girlfriend named Lizzie, who we love. And he's a great guy. What else can I tell you about Will? He's like the most doting, dedicated uncle. I'll see him every summer at the beach is when I really get to see Will. And he's like the most dedicated uncle. Like when we are at the beach, he's throwing kids in the waves. When we're at the pool, he's going down the water slide the whole time. He doesn't have kids of his own yet. So he is like 100% uncle mode. And it's incredible. I always say whenever I have friends who get to be aunts before, like without having their own kids, so they get to just be like full auntie, I'm so jealous of that because my sister and I, it's the best thing in the world that my sister and I had kids 7 weeks apart, but it also sucks and we both hate it because neither of us ever got the chance to be full aunties. So like I was down in Balboa Island, my friend Charlotte's sister Megan doesn't have kids yet, and she just gets to be like full auntie, like fun auntie, playing with the kids because she's not sitting there like breastfeeding her own baby or following her own babies or chasing her own kids around, and that's a really special thing, and that's my favorite thing about Will. Let's see. Somebody says we want to know about your traffic school friends. I just posted on Instagram that I got a speeding ticket last week on the way home from Orange County. It happens, I'm gonna go to traffic school, get it dropped. It's gonna be fine. Oh, this is good. Any future goals now that you've written another cookbook and your Substack is strong, etc. I like this. I think I'd like to write another cookbook, guys. Seems wild to talk about because I haven't even written this one hasn't even come out yet. What to Cook When You Don't Feel Like Cooking comes out August 13th, available for pre-order if you somehow missed it. I've only talked about it 5,000 times. I think I'd like to write another cookbook. I also sometimes think about writing a How to Raise Your First, like your third book. My like number one thing is never trying to sound like I'm giving advice. I'm just telling you what worked for me. And if it works for you, that's cool. I think I'm good at that. I think that's why a lot of people follow me. I honestly get messages every single day that are like, love your content so much. I don't cook, never cooked one of your recipes in my life, but I love following you for your takes on motherhood. And I think that I'm a pretty laid back person. I really like to have fun. And I think that has translated well to motherhood for me. Some people look at the type of mother I am and they're like, oh my God, that's terrifying. She, lets her kids do that. She doesn't care about that. So it's not for everyone, but I think it could be a really fun book that's like the anti-parenting advice book. So I have some thoughts. around that. So we'll see. I want to keep growing the Substack. I never want the Substack to end. I love writing it. I have so much fun with it. I have said this before, but I think of it almost like a long-term newspaper column. Like, for instance, Melissa Clark has been writing for the New York Times, a column for like 15, 20 years at this point, and maybe more. And I think of it like that. Like, this is my personal column. I want to keep it going forever. It has already grown into such a cooler thing than I ever could have imagined. We now have like the once monthly meal plans. Maybe if I grow it, 2x the revenue or 2x the subscribers or something happens, maybe I start doing a weekly meal plan with a grocery list. We just don't have the infrastructure and capability to do that right now, but I know people love those so much. And in another year, we'll have another 50 recipes. So we'll be at 200 plus archive of recipes to pull from for those meal plans. I'm doing these like kind of once quarterly right now. I'm doing these fancy but easy dinner parties. What am I calling them? Y'all help me. Easy but fancy, whatever. I did the holiday one. I did the spring one with the lamb. And I'm publishing another one. I think it's May 11th or something. So that's really maybe May 9th. And I'm doing that. I'm doing a collab summer grilling menu with somebody who you guys are going to be psyched about. So maybe I start doing more of those. Anyway, basically just continuing to grow the Substack. Maybe I hire another writer and start having, more content to share. Maybe I start sharing desserts. Like right now, it's every Saturday is a complete meal. So maybe it's, sharing other types of recipes other days of the week. Just continuing to grow that and evolve with you guys and what you want. Like when I published that first meal plan, I was like, whoa, people want more meal plans. How do I do it? And I like talked to you guys and figured out, okay, once a month is probably good for now. But they blow up every month. So maybe some more. So that's that. Thank you for asking. Oh, I'd like to hear more what it's like ghostwriting cookbooks. I had no idea this was a thing. Okay, so I've ghost written 3 cookbooks. One, the author, Dr. Drew Ramsey, he's like very public about the fact that I wrote it with him. So it was a ghostwrite because I'm nowhere on the book. I don't really know why I'm not on the book. I think I came in like too late or something it doesn't matter, but I'm not. But we did an Insta Live together and like it's very, much known and I'm able to talk about it that I did the recipes for that. That's the book, Eat to Beat Depression and Anxiety. It's all about nutritional psychiatry and how the foods that we eat can affect our gut biome, which affects our brain, and like different foods can make us happy or sad. I mean, it's incredible. I write about it a lot on what to cook. We don't feel like cooking, like red bell peppers. That's why we use red bell peppers so much. Pepitas, cashews, almonds, fermented foods. That is the reason that I include those foods so often in my recipes because they make us feel really good. So that's a different example because I'm not on it, but it's like public. So my best ghostwriting example, I can't talk about it, but I ghostwrote the book for a very famous rapper. And my experience with that is that I communicated only with the editor. I was given a list of recipes like catfish sandwich, mac and cheese, literally 0 notes. Every now and then a couple notes, like we want it to be spicy. And I never communicated with the rapper himself. I don't think he knows my name or knows that I exist. And it was a New York Times bestseller. Probably not because of the quality of the recipes, although they were great, but because of who he is. It was a New York Times bestseller. It's a great book. I don't even own a copy of it, which is weird, actually. It's fun. I was about to say that was a really fun project. It actually wasn't that fun. I never communicated with him. I just developed the recipes. It was a great project, but it wasn't particularly like exciting because I never like actually talked to anybody about it. I just did it in my own little kitchen. My first kitchen in Coronado, just wrote all the recipes. I think it was only 60 recipes or something. It's a short book, and a few were done by another developer too. Yeah, but it's funny every time I see it on shelves. Like my, 10 best friends all know that I did this. I signed a big fat NDA about it, but my friends all know. So when it like hit the bestseller list, they were like, congratulations. I was like, thanks. Lol. My funniest story from developing that is that I was first trimester pregnant with Mattis, very early pregnant with Mattis. And I was super nauseous to food smells in general, and I was having to develop said catfish sandwich, and I just couldn't get it right, and I was having to fry catfish in my like little 1960s Carmel cottage kitchen, aka the entire house would smell like catfish. And it was, I don't know, it was like the worst 2 days of my life. I had to fry so much catfish, and I was just like, bleh, bleh. And George ate like pounds and pounds of catfish because I like couldn't even taste it. So if you know which book I'm talking about, you've ever tried the catfish sandwich, enjoy, because I've never tasted it because it was making me vomit. Ooh, advice for someone who just started trying to conceive. Not sure what to expect for this new chapter. My number one advice would be to pick up a copy of Emily Oster's Expecting Better. It is my pregnancy Bible. It basically walks you through the data on there's so many outdated things that we're told, like don't eat deli meat, don't eat sushi, you can't have any alcohol. And so she gives you the data and the reasons for all of those things, and it's just really helpful to understand. She also has a new book out for anyone who is trying to conceive after a traumatic birth or after a miscarriage. It's called The Unexpected. It's by Emily Oster and Nathan Fox, who's an OB, and it's incredible. I read the entire thing. I have not had, I mean, I had what I would call a traumatic first birth, but what the doctors would call completely normal. And then I just really hated giving birth that first time. It was very hard. More on that, more on that later. So anyway, I've not had like a traumatic loss or anything, and I still found this book just to be so like empathetic to the birthing person, and like really gets inside your head and tells you like exactly what you're feeling. So anyway, if you've experienced loss, even if you're never going to try to conceive again, I can see this book being very like healing and therapeutic. So Emily Oster is my recommendation for a book. And for what to expect, oh my gosh, just don't worry. I don't know. I think there's, take care of yourself and do all the best things that you can, but I was so caught up with, trying to plan the perfect birth plan and all of that, and a lot of it's so out of your hands. It can take a while to get pregnant, so if it doesn't happen right away, don't get discouraged. It took me about 9 months to get pregnant with Mattis. So yeah, just really see it as a process, not an immediate result, and nothing's wrong with you. And you don't assume that something's wrong if it doesn't happen in the first couple months. Just keep hanging out and make it fun. Also, people will be like, try to keep the sex fun, like it becomes such a chore. Like, okay, sure, I'll try to keep the sex fun, but I'm also like peeing on an ovulation strip. Like, what? I don't know. So don't worry about that. Sometimes sex is just to make a baby, and sometimes sex is fun. And like, don't make yourself feel bad if you're like, honey, we have to have sex right now. And your husband's like, I don't feel like it. And you like have to tell it, like, whatever. This is a moment in time. Like you have to have sex at very specific times, and it's a moment in time. So I don't feel guilty if it's not freaking fun every time. Oh, wait, that did remind me of one other thing, though. When I was trying to get pregnant with Mattis, I did not understand my ovulatory cycle at all. So understand that. Like cervical fluid changes based on when you're most fertile. And I did not know that until I was 28 trying to get pregnant for 6 months. So read up on that. Just Google it. Give it a little Google. I don't even think I used ovulation strips the month that I actually ended up getting pregnant. I just finally understood, like, oh, when your cervical fluid looks like that, bang. And we finally got pregnant. So also people will tell you, like, just loosen if you're not getting pregnant, just loosen up. Just, if you don't think about it, it'll happen. And I think that's the most annoying advice in the world. I talked about this with Gabi Dawkin on her episode. She's had 9 miscarriages. She has also gotten that advice, and she's like, oh, okay. I think that's the most annoying advice in the world. Like, don't tell me to just loosen up. I'm not loose. I will say I finally got pregnant at a wedding when I was loose and I was having some drinks and I wasn't stressing about it. So to the best of your ability, like, try not to overthink it at the beginning. And then there's always time to overthink it later if it's not working naturally. Let's see. Let's do one more because I promised a short episode and we're on 30 minutes. I like this one. Super curious about the financial side of Substack. Okay. Didn't get a lot of deets there, but I will share. My Substack, I'm very proud to say, is the #1 food and drink Substack. So I've changed my the pricing a few times. The pricing's gone up as like the quality's gone up. As I was talking about earlier, I now provide these weekly meal plans. It also now comes with these Wednesday sew into that emails. There's a lot more to it than there used to be. It used to just be a once weekly recipe. There's a lot more to it now. When I first launched, I launched it at $35. So if you were one of my first subscribers and you got in at $35, you are grandfathered into that for life. I think I upped it to 40 after like a year and a half, stuck there for a year, and about 6 months ago upped it to 50. I was the least expensive food newsletter on Substack at $35. My guy at Substack, who's like the head of culture, Dan, was like, you have to increase your rate. And I was like, no, I like it. I like it there. And then basically I realized like to make this a more high quality publication, I did indeed need to up the price. And I, also just like, it's worth it. It's worth my time and money. That's still less than $1 a recipe. So I've like 19,600, I think, paid subscribers. I assume a lot of those are also my podcast listeners. So thank you guys for supporting my work. I love you and appreciate you so much. And you're the reason that I got a cookbook deal without having to like go and pitch it and write a proposal. An editor literally came to me and was like, your Substack is your proposal. Will you write a book with us? Here's what we'll pay you. And I was like, yes, I will do that. And that's really cool and really unique in this space. It's hard to get a cookbook deal and you have to like work really hard, write a 50-page proposal, and my Substack was my proposal. So that's unique and very special. So yeah, I mean, you can do the math, or I'll tell you the math. It's not a total straight shot because not everyone pays $50. Not everyone pays $35. Everyone pays anywhere from $35 to $50 annually, and I have about 19,600 subscribers. So I will hit the $1 million revenue mark with What to Cook, hopefully in the next couple of months, and I will celebrate because that is incredible. And when I started in 2019, my first year of Mattis, I was a freelance recipe developer. I was really struggling with my mental health postpartum. And my reported revenue that year was about $25,000. And that was like, I was doing the best I could. And so to be in this place 4 years later feels really good. And like I really climbed out of a hole and have achieved a lot in the past 4 years. And that is much in thanks to my extremely loyal followership, you guys, readership, the people who cook my recipes, the people who share my recipes, share my ideas, talk about me at the carpool line, talk about my recipes, print out recipes, send them to their friends. It's because of you guys. So thank you. I'm so excited. I've said it here before, but I just can't stop thinking about it. I'm so excited for this book tour to get out there. I keep adding cities because I'm like, I can't skip that one. I can't skip that one. Like I know, Polly lives there. Lauren lives there. About my people my loyal people who tag me and show up. So I cannot wait to get into your cities and be able to hug you and hang out with you and hopefully drink a margarita with you. I can't wait. So let's leave it on that note, shall we? Thank you for submitting all these questions. I got to talk about my brother. I got to talk about finances a little bit. We have a great financial expert coming on that I'm very excited about because I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know how to financially plan whatsoever until I got married, which is gross and I don't like. So we're going to combat that with a podcast episode with this awesome person. Okay. I love you guys. See you later.